view of
I begged the White House I begged the White House many times. Avoid the war. Stop. Just tell them NATO's not coming. Ukraine will do just fine. And they wouldn't do it because this has been a 30-year project of the United States also. This is how it works. This has been a long-standing game, announced, explained. Brzezinski laid it all out for us in 1997. So we've seen it.
But what is
it's not a good idea.
Let me ask you though, what is your view of Vladimir Putin?
Well, I think he's very smart, very tough, and I think he says what he means. In 2007, he said, "Don't do this." At the Munich Security Conference, famously, he said, "All right, you went violating what I know to be true, by the way, which was not an inch eastward for NATO, promised by James Baker III and by Hans-Dietrich Genscher to Gorbachev in 1990. I know that's for sure the case. The United States expanded NATO to Poland, Hungary, Czech Republic in the Clinton period, and then to 7 more countries in 2004. Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, Slovakia, Slovenia, Romania, and Bulgaria. And then in 2007, Putin said, stop. All right, stop. No more, not to Ukraine. So what does George W. do in 2008 in Bucharest? Of course, what does he do? He says, guarantee Ukraine and Georgia. And, this is Palmerston's playbook from 1853. So we're going to surround Russia in the Black Sea again. Exactly that.
Okay, but I don't want to interrupt, but just to interrupt though, I just asked you what your view of Putin is, and so far you've just said he's smart and tough. I told you he warned us very clearly. Any negatives, Professor?
I believe that the big mistake of both sides is we should talk this out. And now let me say a word about talking it out. In 2008. When Bucharest happened, European leaders called me, because I'm friends with them. They said, what is your crazy president doing? By the way, some who are in power right now, I won't name names. What is your president doing? Why is he destabilizing things? He promised he wasn't going to push Ukraine. That's what European leaders say in private. They don't say it in public. We avoided the negotiations. Then 2014 came. Sadly, Piers, I saw some of it firsthand. It was ugly. The United States should not be funding overthrows of governments. We did. I know it. Okay. So I happened to be there soon afterwards with the hand-picked government, hand-picked by Victoria Nuland. We didn't talk then. Then came the Minsk agreements. And then the United States said privately, even though the UN Security Council has backed both Minsk I and Minsk II, you don't have to do this. And so with Poroshenko, don't worry about it. Then we heard, of course, Chancellor Merkel say afterwards, yeah, we weren't taking it too seriously, even though Germany and France were the guarantors of that. Then on December 15th, 2021, Putin put it down in a draft U.S.-Russia security agreement. I read it. I called the White House. I said, you know what? You can negotiate on this basis. Avoid the war. No, there's going to be no war, Mr. Sachs. I said, just tell them that NATO is not going to enlarge. You'll avoid the war. No, we're never going to say that. We have an open door policy. So what kind of open door policy? We've had 200 years of the Monroe Doctrine, some open door policy. No, Mr. Sachs. Then the war breaks out. Then immediately Zelensky says, okay, we can be neutral. We can be neutral. And negotiations start. As you know, Naftali Bennett, informally the Prime Minister of Israel, and Turkey with its very skilled diplomacy. I actually flew to Ankara to discuss with the Turkish diplomats what was going on. The U.S. stopped the agreement. Why? Because they thought we'll win. We can bleed Russia. Our sanctions, cutting them out of the banking system, we're going to bring them to their knees. It's a bunch of terrible miscalculations is what it is.
Okay.
It's a game.
Listen,
a terrible game.
I hear you. What I'm fascinated by, though, is I've asked you to say what you think of Putin. And so far, like I say, you've only called him tough and smart. This is a guy that kills his political opponents. This is a guy who...
Yeah, what's the...
This is a guy who rules his country like a gangster. It's like, I'm struggling to understand why you can't find any negatives for the guy. He's a dictator.
Because I'm trying to find peace, and you don't do it the way that Biden does. Biden said, okay, he's a thug. Biden says he's a crazy SOB. That's real good, Joe. That's really getting us to where we want to go. That's hundreds of thousands of Ukrainians dead. Why don't we move a little bit beyond the name calling?
Can you not find anything negative to say about Vladimir Putin?
I don't think that what I say about Putin negative has anything to do with anything. What I'm saying is, as I know, you were
ready to call him smart. You're ready to call him smart and tough. I'm like, okay,
and
that's,
you know,
you can call him smart and tough, but you can't find anything bad to say about
I wrote a book about the Cuban Missile Crisis and its aftermath. Kennedy didn't go name-calling Khrushchev. He tried to save the world, to stop the war. Afterwards, he didn't insult Khrushchev. What he did was sat down with him and negotiated the partial nuclear test ban treaty. We're not in a game. We're not in name-calling. We're not in a cage brawl. We're trying to actually not have the world spiral into nuclear war. So it's not that game. The game is sit down and negotiate.
No, my final point on this is that your critics, as you know, say that you're a purveyor of anti-American talking points, particularly when it comes to the notion of American exceptionalism. And I'm just curious that you've been very sort of praiseworthy of Putin's strengths and pretty critical of America, but you don't